But first things first, Gerald Celente is the guy behind TrendsJournal, and he makes his living looking at what's going on and making well-reasoned predictions. And Gerald, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me on, John.
Yeah. What about there are a lot of things going on in the news right now. What about the marijuana issue? What's going to happen with that?
You know, it's such a fraud. It's really a disgusting spectacle as I see it. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
You know, I'm a kid that grew up in the Bronx, and then we social climbed to Yonkers. And I remember when they busted the vegetable man. In those days, the vegetable guy used to come around with his truck for running the numbers. And then they'd have these district attorneys come out. And the numbers were, people would bet on what were the last three numbers in the attendance at Aqueduct Raceway.
Okay.
And if you won, then, it was like a 300 to 1, 500 to 1 odds of winning. And they'd have these DAs come out. Yes, we busted them, and the people that could pay for it the least are the ones being taken advantage of the most. And we're going to, for the full, hammer of justice is going to come down. And then they got into, you got to win it, you got to be in it to win it. They called it lotto.
Yep.
So as soon as they could make a buck off it, it was no more playing the numbers, it was lotto and mega million and on and on. And then it no longer became gambling when they bust up a bunch of guys playing cards for money. No, it became gaming. That's right. For all us white folks, it became gaming.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of made it respectable. Because they're making money on the taxes, all the lives they've ruined, all the people that are spending time in jail for getting high on pot, but now the government's in getting in on the take because they're taxing the hell out of it and they're making a lot of money. It's a disgusting spectacle as I see it.
Yeah, the federal government, they just changed the rules, so these people who are growing and selling can put money in the bank now, but it's still a federal crime to even have it.
Again, it's just going to be a matter of time before the crime bosses, the government, they figure out the rules so they can keep making money on taxes. You look at the amount of money coming in, the numbers are there, coming in on taxes from Colorado. And they did the same. I was in the New York State Senate. I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate in 1971.
Okay.
I remember when they passed the Lotto law. And they were going to use all this money to promote education.
Right.
I mean, how could anybody believe politicians at this late stage of the game? So we asked me about marijuana. I think it's criminal that this whole war on drugs has prosecuted those who can least afford it the most and have ruined so many lives for nothing. For nothing. And it's probably $1 trillion war on drugs now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look at the people flooding over the border as we're speaking, and they come out with this phony war on drugs baloney. Now, all it does is keep the system going. And by the way, none of these kids better dress up like Al-Qaeda or Al-Nusra coming over the border.
Yeah.
Because then they'll... the whole thing is a sham. It's right in front of everybody's eyes. They're stealing our dough with all this NSA baloney, with all this wiretapping and following everything that we do, feeling us up at the airport, and little kids are floating over the border nonstop.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. What about the war on terror? Where are we at on that?
Well, that's part of it. It's a war on hoax. I wrote about this, John, back in the TrendsJournal back in 1993, and then again in my book, Trends 2000, 1996, that the war on terror would be the new communism. And that's what it's turned out to. You're a man. If somebody blew up your family and came over here from another country, you'd think you'd want to seek revenge? I'm up here in colonial Kingston, New York, the first capital of New York State. There are more stone buildings here predating the Revolutionary War than anywhere else. The English burnt the joint down. There's still a lot of stone buildings left.
Yeah.
Every one of the founding fathers was against foreign entanglements. And now I got a guy like Kerry and the rest of them shooting their mouths off, saying what we have to do in foreign countries. Yeah, they should have talked to Washington in his farewell address, saying we shouldn't be involved, or Franklin, or Jefferson. Now, I went to Harvard, Princeton, or Yale, and I know better than you do. So what we're doing is we keep inciting hatred against us by invading sovereign countries. Hey, remember those weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda that they didn't have in Iraq. And look what's going on in Afghanistan, the longest war in American history, with no end in sight. So where's terrorism going? You know, as they used to say in the Bronx, payback's a bitch. If you're going to keep getting involved in other countries, expect blowback. When the French were raping Algeria and all that region, you know, they were blowing up everything on the Champs-Élysées. They pulled out. You don't see manholes blowing up anymore. And then again, they're going to keep using it as the tool to keep us in fear and hysteria. We just heard the new commissioner over here in New York, the police commissioner, you know, warning about at the tennis open over there, you know, that they read in the spokesperson saw something in a terrorist magazine, you know, that they may be hitting. You know, look what they did with the Super Bowl.
Right.
You had more military there in the Super Bowl probably than at the Battle of the Bulge. And look what happened. Some guy got on a bus, reporter's bus in New Jersey with phony tags that he got from a music concert years ago, and he ends up breaking into the interview as they're interviewing the player of the game.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and remember how that's been blacked out of the news?
Yeah.
They can't stop this. So what they're doing is they're robbing us of our rights with the Freedom of Information Act, with the with the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, where Obama signed on New Year's Eve, the night before, and nobody's paying any attention, that allows the government to come and take anybody and accuse us of having contacts with terrorists, and you never hear from us again. They're robbing us of our Fourth Amendment rights, First Amendment rights. Oh, yeah, you could protest, but make sure you stay in that protest zone.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they passed the Supreme Court even didn't allow a guy to go into the protest zone outside an Army base in California because they'll protest too much.
Yeah,
where's the war on terrorism going? It's a raping of our rights.
What I see interesting about the whole protest zone thing is it's still okay if the president's making an appearance to keep people back.
Well, again, you saw what happened with the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
They ruled that people that were pro-Bush could get close, but people that were anti-Bush, they pushed away. But, of course, that has nothing to do with Bush. I was just talking about Obama before. It's the whole system. And the moronic, the Supreme Court, the Supremes are a lot hipper than them, you know. At least they could sing. They come out with this stupid line that if you're a protester, then you could also be violent. Well, how about, if you're going to blow somebody's brains out, you're not going to yell it out. But they're allowing the people that are pro to be closer and anti to be further away. And I'm a political atheist. I mentioned to you I began my career very early in the Senate in New York, and where I was in D.C. for many years as a government affairs specialist for the chemical industry. And one of our chief writers for the TrendsJournal is Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, the former Assistant Treasury Secretary under Ronald Reagan. So we're guys that have been there, and we're political atheists. We don't believe in this stuff. We've been around long enough. And as I look at the Republicans and the Democrats, and I'm not being sarcastic when I say this, to me they're no different than the Bloods and the Crips, because they're both murderers and they're thieves. They murder millions of people in the names of lies. Remember, weapons of mass destruction, ties to Al-Qaeda, the Gulf of Tonkin incident in Vietnam that never happened the way they said it was, and McNamara, the defense secretary at the time, admitted it. And thieves, they keep stealing our dough, and they made up this whole BS line. Oh, these banks are too big to fail. So we're going to take your money, we're going to take your house, we're going to take everything that you have, and we're going to give them to them because they're too big to fail. So when I say murderers and thieves, and it just keeps going on, I could go on with the thievery. We don't have enough time for a year to go through all of the way the government is stealing our dough and giving it to their friends. Oh, I mentioned NSA before, the National Security. You know, is the head of the Booz Allen Hamilton, the biggest contractor for that. The guy's name is McConnell. That was the one that Snowden worked for.
Yeah.
You know who McConnell was the NSA chief under?
No.
Clinton.
Okay.
No, there's no revolving door. How dare you say that? Like I'm 6 years old, you know? You see, the whole thing is a disgustingly rigged game, and they're robbing America of its future.
You talk a lot in the summer 2014 Trends Journal about the state of America's I don't care, because it doesn't seem like, okay, whatever. Who cares?
Well, look at it.
I know.
Look what we've become. And we have a brilliant illustration there by Anthony Frieda, of the American and what it's become. I mean, obesity levels. I mean, they're off the charts. You look at the music we listen to. We have a photo there. We have Sarah Vaughan singing, and then you have a Miley Cyrus next to it, a tongue out and a stupid uniform on. Hey, how about Frank Sinatra, Justin Bieber, come on. I mean, what am I to complain? And you keep look at the art. You pick up yesterday's a week ago, New York Times, last Friday's it was. And they have this great new art exhibition. Piles of garbage. They have two trucks, old trucks, buried half in the dirt.
Right.
And they're calling this stuff art. Take it easy, Jack. Maybe it's somebody's expression, but you don't have to have a high talent to do that, nor do you have to have a high talent. Don't call rap music. It's rap. You have to know how to play a violin. You have to know how to play a guitar, a saxophone, a trumpet. Everything is synthesized. The whole bar has been lowered. What they call fast food is an oxymoron. There's no such thing. So we're going down on every level. Listen to the president. Listen to his speeches. They use words like stuff, folks. There's no language in it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole America at one time, we were the land of opportunity. The whole world looked up to us. And now look at it. I mean, you take a look at Congress. It's a freak show. I mean, look at them. Pelosi, Feinstein, or as I like to say, not too Feinstein.
Right.
And you go on McConnell, Lindsey, Graham. I mean, come on. What are these guys kidding me or what? Yeah, they could get away with this stuff on their TV shows where the prostitutes are there sucking up and bowing down. But, take it easy, Jack. Save it for your friends. Because these lines aren't working anymore.
Yeah. Pretty much. Gerald, I appreciate your time. If someone wants to check out your stuff, or maybe you can get the Trends Journal right in print if they want.
Oh, yeah. It's printed online, TrendsJournal.com, TrendsJournal.com, and it's history before it happens.
I got you. Thank you so much, Gerald. I'll talk to you again down the road.